You're listening to Muzilog Muzik Radio, home of indie artists.
Keep it locked.
As we continue to make it a great day, whatever it is on your end of the planet, I'm Samuel Archer, your host. I want to give a great shout out to the International Village, and I hope you guys are doing great. We just had a great Father's Day weekend. I'm not going to be putting too much events in my shows. I might want to replay a show in the future. You know, when you use certain what you call key things. You know, current events. It sort of messes up your show, but that's all right. I'm a father, and I enjoyed Father's Day. You know, I have two daughters. They reached out and said Happy Father's Day, and I want to extend Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, even though the show is airing after Father's Day. Yeah, you know, I thought about something. You know, I think I want to give my crew a name, give my folks a name. You know, the folks that tune into the show. I'm going to give you guys a name. And if it catches on the way I think it would, I think I'm going to call it, if it catches on the way that I think it would, I'm actually going to do like a t-shirt vibe with it. And then everyone that supports the show, you know, would get a t-shirt. You know, one of the things is, I was inspired by a brother that called himself Captain Jack. What was Captain Jack's? What was his name again? He was a lawyer that lived in New York. And he had a podcast, and he called himself Captain Jack on the podcast. And he was really good. He was really good at it. And he would call his audience internets. You know, he says, "How are you doing, internets?" And Captain Jack, let me see, podcast. Let me do that here. Captain Jack podcast. And I'm looking at my phone, by the way, because you guys wouldn't really be seeing what I'm doing here. I'm not seeing it here, but it was a Haitian brother. I want to get his original name. It's probably this one here. Let's see here. Captain Jack. And unfortunately he died a few years ago. He was battling cancer, and we really missed a talented brother. You know, so shout out to him. If you want to check out some of his episodes, go to Spotify and pull up Captain Jack. Yeah, but he called himself Captain Jack, and he called his audience internets. I also follow Don Lemon. You know, he calls his audience Lemonheads, and that makes sense. You know, shout out to Don Lemon. When he got fired from CNN. We all were a little bit sad, although I didn't really agree with everything that he had to say, but, he's a cool guy. Shout out to you, Don. I do check out your podcast sometimes, or your shows, and it's pretty nice. So I think I could give my audience a name. Now, I'll shout this name out here. I'll give you guys a name. And then you guys can tell me if you like the name. And if you don't like the name, you can suggest an alternate name. And then we could vote on it, right? We can vote on it. So I came up with Cyber Life Junkies, because it's an internet thing that we're doing. I didn't want to use internets. And then, my last name isn't Lemon. I can't. My last name is Archer. We bows and arrows, and like what am I going to do with bows and arrows? It's kind of like the McDonald's situation, the restaurant or the fast food place, McDonald's. Ray Kroc. What is he going to do with, what kind of name is that? He wanted the McDonald's name. And it's a good story. If you guys never checked it out, check out The Founder. And it was a good film. And great acting, too. Good storyline, great production, and great lessons. And it was great to learn about Ray Kroc. Now, as we proceed to give you what you think you need, I just want to put a little spotlight. I want to take a little out of my vocabulary. I want to put the spotlight, let's go with that, on my book, Hybrid Executive. If you haven't gotten your copy yet, it's available on Amazon and Barnes & Nobles and a lot of great book outlets, digital format. If you need a physical book, you could reach out to me and I'll get a copy out to you. There's also a PDF version. And there are applications you can use if you want to turn it into an audiobook. And until that time that I actually release the audio version, I do have an audio version recorded that is still in the works. It's doing some editing. I want to do something else with it. So, until that time, you can still get the ebook or get the PDF. And I think it's Speechify. I think Speechify can check that out, and there's a way to get the book and to read the book for you. You can get Snoop Dogg's voice to read it. Snoop. What was it? What he says? 00. No, I'm not going to even mess with that. I can't. I'm not even going to try that. But yeah, tell me if you guys like that. Cyber life junkies. Or we could keep using internets. Internets is cool. So anyway, shout out to all the fathers and mothers that had to play the role of fathers. We want to recognize you too. And if you have a father and you haven't given him a call in a while, please do. Reach out. Send him a card. Hopefully you have his address. Take the time to go get a card and mail it out. Say, Dad, what's up? Just, thank you for not using a paper towel or napkin. We got to remember that we have to appreciate how we got here. It could have been one of those napkin moments. It would have been a wrap. Hallelujah. There was a story about a circus. They were promoting when I think it was the beginning. It was the beginning of the year. They were promoting. They were coming to town to do a show. And so they were very selective in their promotion. They're very, very selective. And there were a lot of people who may have wanted to attend the circus, but they couldn't get tickets. They were sent to other circuses. They say, hey, you can't get our ticket. Go over there, get those tickets. And some of those tickets were international. So, those folks went. And so they couldn't attend that actual circus that was being promoted since earlier this year, maybe January time. We're in June. We're in June right now. So yeah, so they recently, did the first show yeah, they did the first show, and barely anyone showed up, and the head clown looked like he wanted to cry really bad. And it was funny. It was funny and sad at the same time, because you didn't want to sell tickets to everyone. How do you know that the people that were sent to the other circuses, is that a word, circuses? Correct me if that's correct. If it's, help me in the chat or the comment section. But they, other places became the option to send the fan base or to send the audience. So when the first show happened, the clown is there with all his clownettes, looking at a horrible audience. It was bad. I mean, the head clown, it was bad. It looked really, really rough. It's crazy. It's really crazy. If you're gonna just have mayo, mayonnaise, that's just one ingredient. You gotta have other things. You gotta diversify a little bit. You gotta have some onions, tomatoes. It could be vegan, a vegan patty, or if you want to go with ham or chicken or turkey smoked. A sandwich is a diversified meal. And I mean, that was a major thing for the clown. He didn't want to diversify. He just wanted to work with mayonnaise. So, he had a mayonnaise audience, and all the other diverse pieces didn't come out. And I think rain also fell that day. So hopefully they were under a shelter. And thank God there might not have been any lightnings and stuff. So yeah, that was rough. The target market got, they went to other places. Others, they went to different events in different parts of the world too. It was really hectic too. It was just one of those amazing things. And then there were some former fans that were in other places showing their dismay in really big numbers. I mean, it was like, oh. So, the head clown struck a really rough nerve. So I'm hoping they can all work it out. It's a really interesting story. Read about it sometimes. And the headliners, you'd probably catch something on it. But it's life. The architect in Matrix, he couldn't see beyond the choices. That's why he needed the oracle, You needed that oracle. You need that balance in the system. Once you want to shake up the balance, you just have mayonnaise, I mean, who just eats mayonnaise, Yuck. Oh, by the way, if you're a coffee company and you'd like to support the show as it grows, I would love to call the name of the company whose coffee I'm drinking while I'm doing the show. So, hey, there's a spot for you if you're a coffee company and you feel you like the vibe over here, and now, the thing is, your coffee better taste good. It better be some good coffee. So if you got that kind of a vibe, I'm all taste buds on this one. And you can send me a couple of I like the Keurig system. And I've been brewing too, so it all depends. If you have it in the brew vibe, I can work with that. You have it in the Keurig vibe, I can work with that. And if I like the taste, and we, have a little meeting, we have a meeting and discuss some numbers with some zeros behind it, I think that would be a good thing. And if you don't do coffee, let's say you do you do like a wine or something, or rum, Now, I'm not really a rum drinker like that, but I will taste it and also let the audience know, what we're looking at here. So, yeah. You're listening to the Anytime, Any Day radio show. You got to start with the time first. It's anytime, any day. All right? So, don't mix up the name. Okay, my cyber life junkies. Cyber life junkies. I like it. I think I could get used to that. So that's something to think about. Let me see what else I wanna rock with here. So I saw something last week and it piqued my interest. I think I wanna talk about it a little bit. It's serious. So when I relocated back to New York, this was in the 80s, and I remember really getting into the gospel, Brooklyn, New York, the gospel circuit. I had to get into it, and I have a little funny thing that I remember, I shout out to my friend Terrence Russell. That's my partner in crime. Hope he's doing good. So Terrence, amazing vocalist. I'm an amazing keyboardist. I do sing, but if I'm going to sing with Terrence, I have to think about it a little bit. If I'm singing with Terrence, I got to think about it. So, So we he came up not too long after me, and we realized something really interesting. Now, in the Caribbean, when we sang contemporary gospel, we sounded really good. It was good. But when we came here and we had to sing, with American singers, we realized that we were way off. We had to work on the accent thing. It was rough. It was really rough. Now, I would say that a lot of the up-and-coming singers now in the Caribbean, they do a lot better in singing American, or should I say in singing foreign music. And I'm talking about the Caribbean islands. And maybe some of the Caribbean territories, Belize, Guyana, shout out to folks on the mainland. Those are Caribbean territories, if you didn't know. And we have the Caribbean islands as well. And I would say the singers now are a lot better with the accent thing. They do a lot. I've heard a couple of them. They were pretty good. Well, back in the 80s, we had more musicians. We had a lot of, there's really more really good musicians, and then we didn't really have much great singers. Now, I think it's, you have good musicians, and the singers could really deliver. But one of the things that Terrence and I had to work on was we had to work on our accent. It was rough. Yeah, the first couple of times we did it, I taped it. We had a cassette, and I'm listening back. I'm like, oh my God, this is rough. It was rough, guys. It was rough. But we buckled down, and there were a couple of records that we listened to make sure we got on point. Just a couple of records we vibed with. Definitely Commission. I think the Commission record that had just dropped when we came back, when I relocated to New York, was it the Keep On Singing record? I'm here going in memory time here. I don't want to say incorrect things. So I'm pulling up Commission records right now. Shout out to Commission Gospel Group. Let's do that. Oops. I'm spelling it wrong, guys. Commission Gospel Group. Yeah, and we just lost Michael Brooks, by the way. Yeah, we just lost Michael Brooks. So yeah, that was kind of sad. Shout out to the Brooks family. You know. So yeah, let me look at this record here. I'm looking at the albums online. It's beautiful. You know, it's like you could go online right now and it's like an encyclopedia. You just pull it up and it's there. I'm looking for that record. Oh, the record was Go Tell Somebody. Yes, it was Go Tell Somebody. And then before that, they had, it was, what was the Strange Land record? Well, anyway, they had the one with Strange Land in it, right? And then I think before that was the City in the Distance record, right? Yeah. So we, I would say Terrence and I, we vibed to those albums. Take Six was kind of, kicking butt around that time. So we had to study some of that as well. And what else did I study? I remember studying the Winans. Study the Winans. And we, studied some of the old school artists too. Yeah. So, and that helped with the accent. And, there's this funny story. We went to Young Artists for Christ. Michael Brooks, the same brother I just spoke about who passed on, he would have this conference called Young Artists for Christ. And my group, Highlight, we went there one year. We went there, I think it was 1991. And it was interesting because we're talking like this, we have accents, dialects, everything. So initially, because I spoke to Brooks at one point, and he thought that we were going to either sing reggae or country. Oh my God. He's like, I thought you guys were going to do reggae, And we surprised them because when they heard us sing, the fascination was, how you guys talk like this and sing like that? I mean, that was like really the fascination. But it was so crazy. Let me tell you how crazy it was. It was so crazy. There were two brothers that went up before us at the conference, and they did a rendition of the Winans. They did a rendition of a song called Straighten My Life. And in the end of the song of Straighten My Life, it's sort of like it's a drive. They call it like a drive. But it's a groove drive type of thing. So it goes something like, straighten my life, straighten my life, straighten my life, straighten my life, right? So they're grooving. I mean, the brothers killed it, by the way. Now, I'll say this. If we took the mic, if Highlight, that was the name of my group, if we took the mic and went one-on-one, we would have been ripped to shreds. I mean, I'll tell you that, because Detroit got some amazing singers. It's crazy out there. Detroit, and we met a lady from St. Louis. She sang one night, by the way. And she went up to sing and she said, hey, brothers and sisters, please pray for me. I have strep throat. And man, we sat there and she tore the song a new hole. It was serious. She took the song, added soap, put it in the washing machine, took it out of the washing machine, hand washed it, put it in the water, back in the washing machine, I think she sang His Eyes on the Sparrow. So when she came back down, she sat next to us, and I said, look, if you didn't have strep throat, what was going to happen in here tonight? Oh my God. But anyway, back to our performance of this thing. So the guys, I mean, they killed it. They're doing the Straighten My Life groove. Actually, David Fraser was there. Shout out to David Fraser. Earl Wright Jr. was there. And, as I remember other names, Witness was there. all these people, they were there. Shout out to the whole Detroit family. And so they called up Highlight. So Terrence goes up on the mic. And we know the song. So Terrence he's doing the sound check while they're grooving to the Straighten My Life groove, right? They're grooving. So he comes in and straighten my life, straighten my life. He's doing all of that kind of stuff, right? There only some way Terrence could do it. And he's doing it. So when he does that, it was sort of like, oh my God, they're not doing country or reggae. They're singing what we do. That was the first shocker. Then Amaral Williams was in the group. Denise was also in the group. I know Denise and Terrence eventually got married. They weren't married yet. And we lost Denise, by the way, so I'll get to that on a later date. But anyway, so while they're sound checking, they are doing the same thing. So by the time the four of us are on, we all have our mics and stuff. Shout out to Ronald Celestin. He was there. He was our music tech guy at the time. And when we started up the song, oh my God, it smoked the place out. It was crazy. It was one of those experiences. But anyway, back to what I was talking about before that. We had to work out the accent thing. So I'm really connected to the gospel circuit. I didn't really agree with all the issues that we had to deal with over time, obviously. But, it is what it is. There was an industry. You had, who did we have in New York? We had Timothy Wright was definitely knocking things out the park. Timothy Wright, Hezekiah Walker, and LFC, and who else was there? Save Our Children, Mass Choir. that was kind of dope. But when Timothy Wright came out with "I've Been Born Again," oh my God! Whew. Oh, those are some great times. So there was a story that caught my attention, and initially, there's this artist that I follow. Her name is Jackie McGee. If you guys know who she is. Do your research. I'm not gonna go into her whole thing, but she made a comment on her IG talking about this situation on the BET. Apparently, there was an artist that won a particular award for a song that she did, and the artist's name, her name is Glorilla. And she won I think it was the Bobby Jones Award. But you guys will have to read that and check the story out. But what really struck me was that, something was being said around it in terms of, and then when Jackie McGee said it, she didn't mention who it was. She just said, hey, some artists are a little bit upset about the award given to Glorilla. So I didn't know who it was initially. And I forgot about it because I was like, I don't really look at BET. I don't even have BET in my purview. That's kind of sad. BET is not even in my purview. So I was like, all right, cool. There was an award. I know there was a BET Awards thing a couple of days ago. And then I was like, all right, cool. And then later on, it came across my purview again. And it was apparently Dietrich Haddon was upset about it and had something to say, So, and interestingly enough, the headline said that Glorilla won a BET Award for Best Gospel Inspirational Song, Rain Down on Me. And Glorilla collaborated with BTS member J-Hope on a new track called Killing It Girl. I was like, okay. Now that's an interesting headline, because it's basically saying to me that Glorilla and her team, they're expanding her brand. J-Hope is from a band called BTS, which is a K-pop. They're from the K-pop music industry. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And K-pop is a really big market, by the way. If you guys haven't, dabbled into K-pop, it's really a nice market, kind of a vibe. So yeah, so that headline, caught my attention, and the publication was Commercial Appeal. And let's see what it says here real quick. So it says, a Memphis rap superstar, Glorilla, featured on J-Hope's new track after BT Gospel Award win. That's the headline. It says, Memphis rap superstar Glorilla was recognized for her gospel work during the BT Awards on June 9th, and then wrapped up the week with a release of a new track with BTS member J-Hope. Now that's kind of dope right there. I would say that's a dope thing. If you're into marketing and you're into business and you somewhat understand the entertainment industry, just that news right there can, give you an idea as to where they're going with her brand. That they're really spreading it out. So whoever is behind the scenes understands some of what they're doing, when you look at it from a business aspect. So it says, Glorilla's song Rain Down on Me features Maverick City Music, Kiera Shared, Chandler Moore, and 2025 BET Award Icon honoree, Kirk Franklin. All right. So Glorilla took home the trophy, beating out a star-studded crew of competitors, including Common and Pete Rock, featuring Jennifer Hudson, Pastor Mike Jr., Friday, Yolanda Adams, featuring Sir the Baptist and Donna Lawrence, Maverick City Music, Jordan Sparks, Chandler Moore, and Anthony, what's that name? Garguilla? I hope I pronounced that right. Sorry for messing that name up. Tamala Man and Rhapsody. So now, I don't know who beat out who there, because again, I don't watch BT. I don't have a clue as to what's going on. But basically, the record is a secular artist, or known as an artist that's known in the secular realm, and probably decided to do a gospel record with, and that's not anything new. A lot of artists would have done, especially those who had, that they came up in church, they want to do a little gospel jam on their record. You have Howard Hewitt, he did a gospel on his one of his records many moons ago. In fact, there's an artist that I need to follow up on her and see how she's doing. Is what's the name? Hold on, let me pull it up here. I think she has the most. I think it's the best recording ever. There's a record by Denise Williams called "So Glad I Know." If you haven't checked it out, check that record out. Let me know if you think that's the best gospel recorded record ever. I think it's the best because it has amazing songs. and the production. There was a really great collabo between songwriting and production. It's one of the best records I've heard in terms of where everything is equal. I've heard a lot of records where the songwriting was great, but then the production sucked. And then I've heard records where the production was great, but the songwriting sucked. I think So Glad I Know is that record where it was just great, on all sides. An excellent record. So this isn't anything new, where secular artists would collab with gospel artists and do a song, and Glorilla, Rain Down on Me, and it's featuring Kirk Franklin, Maverick City Music, Kiera Shared, and Chandler Moore. These are all reputable gospel artists that's out there. But in terms of the artists that they spoke about in the headline, J-Hope from BTS and K-pop, I thought I would look at the K-pop market and see what that looks like. And it says here, K-pop events, market size, share, trends, and forecast analysis. And this is the analysis is from 2025 to 2032. This is the numbers they're giving us here. The K-pop events market size is valued at $13.28 billion in 2024, and the total K-pop events revenue is expected to grow to I have to check out that abbreviation, but it's looking like 7.5%. What does I think I know what it means, but let me pull that up on here. It says CAGR. What when they abbreviate these things, sometimes you gotta find out, well, what in God's name are they talking about? Why don't I pull that up, since we're all here chopping it up? But basically it's showing that there's going to be growth of 7.5%. Okay, so let's see, CAGR. Okay, so it says compound annual growth rate. All right, compound annual growth rate. See that? That's a good thing I looked on it. So it says here, that's the compound annual growth rate is the annualized average rate of revenue growth between two given years, assuming growth takes place at an exponentially compounded rate. I gotta read good here. I probably need stronger coffee, by the way. That's probably what's going on here. So the compound annual growth rate is going to grow at that, what I just said there, 7.5%, from 2025 to 2032, reaching nearly 23.69 billion. So the K-pop market is pretty big, So Glorilla making some moves to expand is going to pretty much introduce her brand to that audience. And those of you who are into marketing like myself, you kind of get excited when you hear things like that. So what about this issue with Glorilla getting a gospel award? And I read a little bit of the Christian Post. I was a little bit, iffy on if I wanted to read anything from the Christian Post. They said that the first slave ship with the Atlantic slave trade was called the Good Ship Jesus. So sometimes you gotta understand certain words would trigger certain memories. So I hope it's a fair point of view. It ain't too far to the right. We don't want to turn into that circus thing I spoke about previously. So it says here, okay, Dietrich Haddon slams BET's selection of rapper Glorilla for Gospel Award. Popular gospel singer and founding pastor of Hill City Church in California, Dietrich Haddon has criticized BET for giving secular rapper Glorilla the Dr. Bobby Jones Best Gospel Inspirational Award at the 2025 BET Awards on Monday, arguing gospel is not in her space. Woo! Wow, Dietrich. Hey, that's a lash right there. The annual award, which was first handed out in 2001 and named after famed gospel singer and television host Bobby Jones, is usually given to an urban contemporary gospel artist based on sales and overall quality of their content. The 25-year-old Glorilla, whose real name is Gloria Hallelujah Woods, okay, I have some questions on that, received the 2025 award for her song Rain Down on Me, featuring gospel stars. Right, okay, so we know who the features are. And it says here both Kirk Franklin and Maverick City joined the rapper on stage as she awkwardly, like what it was an awkward thing. Now, guys, I didn't see this, so, maybe you guys saw it. Okay, I don't know why it would be awkward. I mean, she did a record with gospel artists. Obviously, it's going to bring that attention. And maybe she grew up in church, even though she's doing secular, she probably grew up in church and felt compelled to do a gospel record. I'm neither here nor there. And I think, I guess my opinion has a lot more to do with the fact that from the Black experience, I think we always tend to want to get approval from other people. When the other people look at us and want to know, well, why we so crazy? Like, you have what it takes. Why you need my approval? They kind of look at us like that. And the reason why I'm saying that is because BET isn't Black owned. It's Black marketed or Black targeted, but it's not Black owned. And, even if you're going to say, your comments, okay, she's not in the gospel space and blah, blah, blah. Well, if it's not Black owned, who are you going to have that conversation with? Like, how far is that going to go? Like, if you don't own something, how far would you take it? Are you going to petition and say, hey, we're going to put a board together, and why don't we do that for for something that we own? And that's just my point of view. And no disrespect to Dietrich Haddon. I mean, he can have his opinion. That's fine. I don't have an issue with him having an opinion, and I think it's still valid. But I think at the same time, our folks, we need to put value in what we believe it is. And, kind of really stop the whole, I need to get approval over there. Or, going over there is where I need to get there, or get my music over there, get my record over there. So that it becomes something. We need to look at what we have and make it into something, and believe that our support behind it and our investment behind it is what gives it the value. I mean, no one else is going to value what we have unless we value it ourselves. We have to put the value into it. We have to shut everybody else down and give it our value. And I think from that aspect, then it's going to make sense to deal with the other things and have that conversation about, the different genres and who's secular and who's gospel. And, if there's a collaboration, maybe there's a different award for that. Now I did look, I did look for Stellas, because I know there was a Stellas award, and it looks like they still exist. That's what, there's a website. They have a date schedule for 2025. If it didn't happen yet, you guys could probably look that up and see how that. We need to just put our time and investment into our thing for a change. Let's give it our own value. Let's appreciate it on what we're gonna do. And could you imagine other ethnicities doing that? You look at the Grammy Awards. There's a country Grammy Awards now, outside of the regular Grammy Awards. And there's a Latino Grammy Awards, outside of the regular awards. They're putting value, whoever that market is. They're, the industries, which would be the country music industry and the Latino music industry, they're putting the value into it. And you want to tell me we have, we have the black music categories, which are now, I think they call them urban. Urban was used at some point. And there'll be other keywords that will be used in the award shows. Just imagine we haven't grown to the point where they could have said, well, let's get a Grammy Awards segment, not a segment within the regular one, but one that's separate, that features this, right? That hasn't happened. And obviously, it's not going to be a hard look to find out why that hasn't happened as yet. But here we are. So something as, the issue that Dietrich has, we got bigger fish to fry if we're going to have that conversation. Very, very bigger fish to fry, yeah. It's crazy. But anyway, while we're at it, I wanted to let you guys know that we have a special going on at Muzilog. We have a business card promotions. For just $150 a year, we'll feature your business card on our website. And if you like what we're doing, support. Now, those of you who might just want to donate, we're going to have some information on the screen that you can just, do it like that and just donate. Help us out with the, keeping the livelihood of the brand. Keeping this going would be great. But yeah, we have a business card package. I'm going to have a link. Check the link in the content area, in the notes area, and you can check it out and see what's up with that, and follow the instructions and send in your business card. And it doesn't have to just be music related. I mean, this is great for various industries, I should say. So take a look at it and see if you want to be down with the program. This is a good program, by the way. Not a bad program. And yeah, I'm still drinking coffee. And if you're a beverage company and you want to, every time I take a sip, I could say, hey, I just took a sip of, you know what I mean? And that could be part of the vibe right there. Just imagine how many times in one of the shows that I'm going to call your company. Yeah, you're listening to the Anytime, Any Day Radio Show. Now, it's really set for like 4 to 6 a.m. in the morning. I mean, that's really the only time I have to do anything because, I told you guys I'm hell of a busy. I'm busy like it's crazy. Also, I did some interviews recently Let me pull that up real quick. Let me pull up that information so I can tell you what to look for. Now, Muzilog Magazine Podcasts, we are on Spotify. If you go to Spotify or Apple or any podcast, platforms where there are podcasts, episodes, we're pretty much distributed in all the different podcast platforms out there. But you can check us out on Apple. You can check us out on Spotify. And we're also in Mixcloud. We're in the Mixcloud family. I'm kind of loving the Mixcloud vibe, I must say. I'm kind of loving the vibe over there. Funny enough, it's not funny, but interestingly enough, the first episode for the Anytime, Any Day radio show, we ended up in the top 20. Could you imagine that? We ended up in the top 20. I think it peaked at number 13, and I checked out some of the competitors there. We have a couple of great radio shows there that I'm competing against. So not that, I'm not here on the hate vibe. It's just that it's good to know who is in the categories of the folks that we're vibing with. We got to know who our competition is, and in a good way, in a friendly way. And when I say competition, it's not like I'm trying to go in a boxing ring and knock anybody out. They may knock me out faster than they'll probably knock me out. I'm not a boxer like that. But I would say in the last 3 weeks, I interviewed some really cool people. I interviewed Faustina Dixon, saxophonist extraordinaire. Really great interview. I consider her legend from the Delaware area. And she just dropped a new single, Baby, Ooh Baby Baby by Smokey Robinson. She killed it. It's really smooth, a really smooth rendition. I also interviewed Star Red. I think her record is out now. It's called Lick Back. She is there in the interview as well. You can check out that episode. Great episode. I thought it was kind of cool. Then we had Shandaria. Her interview is there, so check that out. I also interviewed gospel artist Lamont Sanders. Shout out to Lamont Sanders. I have a soft spot in my heart, gospel artists anyway. So his interview was really cool. He has an interesting story. Now everyone has an interesting story, by the way. Not taken away from the other interviews. I mean, the interviews were like really enlightening and informative, and the music is great, so you want to check that out. So yes, so Lamont Sanders and Teresa Griffin had a really, really, really in-depth convo with her, and it's really packed. I think we almost went for about an hour. Her interview, I mean, we went for a while. Amazing, talented lady. She has some major skin in the game. So check out that interview. Check out her music. In fact, check out everybody's music that I spoke about here. And really support. We're building the home of independent artists over here at Muzilog Muzik Radio. And I'm marketing, I'm proud to mention that I'm marketing the music of reggae recording artist Sunshade. He just dropped an EP, Move with Motion. So those of you that's on my timeline, you probably would have seen the Move with Motion project been promoting the flyers and the posters and the clips and things like that. Yes, 5 songs on the project. It's amazing. If you like, let's say, no, I don't want to say he sounds like this person or he sounds like that person, but in fact, I do tell him in the interview who I think he sounds like, who I think he sounds like. But if you like Lovers Rock, which would be, Lovers Rock would include guys like Barrett Hammond, Sanchez, like Garnet Silk. There was somebody else that we spoke about too. There's a couple of people, but where it's sort of like a smooth. Maxi Priest. I think we spoke about Maxi Priest. And these were all influences for Sunshade. Now, if you want to know how Sunshade got his name, you got to check out the first interview, and that interview is also available on the Muzilog Magazine podcast. But in all the, check out the episodes and go back to the very, very first one with Sunshade, and learn about how he got his name. It's the funniest thing you want to hear. Funniest thing. But anyway, we just did another interview where he talks about, he just speaks a little bit about each song and what was happening, in his mind, what he thought about, what was his vision. Really great in-depth interview. Check that out. And share the link, guys. Share the link. So let me get back to a couple of my friends. All right. So in the first episode, I speak about some friends that encouraged me. They tuned into the station. They heard all the things I was talking about, and hey, cool. The music everything is great. But what's up with you? So now they heard the show. This is the thing, right? They heard the show. However, they decided to communicate with me directly. And I got some decent reviews, and people thought it was cool. They liked where it was. They liked it, But they might have to hear 10 episodes to say, what, you're bona fide, So I think that's what they're waiting on. They want to say, all right, Sam, you're bona fide, That might happen by show number 10. So this is show number 2. They're feeling the vibe, they're feeling the direction. Okay, cool. So I'll give them that. But what I want to encourage my friends is, and some of you did it, just to be fair. Some of you actually went and commented. You left a comment. Some of you actually went to Mixcloud and left a comment. So I appreciate you guys who went to the Mixcloud link and left a comment there. And who knows, that comment might have helped push the project, like really push it to that place, where we were up in the top 20. I mean, this is the first time I'm doing this, by the way. Doing saying that I'm doing a show where I'm actually going to sit down and talk and, bring some information and share. So yeah. So I, again, you guys would have to tune in. You guys would have to share the link. That's the thing. I want you guys to really share it and say, guys, check out what's with Sam. Now, and I'm going to share this on the show as well. My folks from the Caribbean, they don't call me Sam. Ooh, I'm going to put myself in trouble. So they call me Sammy in the Caribbean. Although my name is Samuel, folks in the States, they would just say Sam, which is cool. I don't have a problem with Sam or Sammy, but hey, so they might say, hey, Sammy, they'll go into the lingo. And let me explain the lingo a little bit. Actually, I don't really understand fully, but Sam wouldn't really sound right. They're going and, I might have to be an old man, and then they'll say, yeah, we're going and check Sam, right? But they ain't going to say Sam. They're going to say Sammy, So someone, let me see what's the next name they're going to. So this is the thing. it's either your first name or your last name. If your last name or your first name can work with, where they can either add a Y to it, or they could add some sort of a thing, or they'll shorten it, to make it work. So Charles gonna be Charlie, although his name may not be Charlie, it might be Charles. And Edward, now they go shorten it, but they go say Eddie. Now they would figure it out, right? They'll figure it out. They trust me. You give them a name. We had one. We had let me see. I'm trying to find a good one. So let's say, for example, you're a young lady and your name is Roxanne. They might say Roxy, Roxy. You see how I just did that? You have to be able to do that to the name. Very rare you have a name in the Caribbean and that name stays like in its original form. There's some people I don't really know their original. I don't know the name. Like if you say to me, what's this, this person in the village? What's their government name? I would not know. Some of the folks, I don't know. Like seriously. And then now you might get a name that is associated with something that might have happened to you. So let's say, it has to be something funny. If it was something that happened to you that was kind of bad, we're not that bad. We're not that wicked, unless you ask for it. But if something happened to you growing up and it was funny, they may find a way to put that in your name, So let's say growing up, you probably had a big nose or something, They might just call you Nose. Hey, Nose! But you guys could throw something in the chat or in the comment there, share an experience, and let us know. And we did have a couple of people that really, on Facebook, they commented. So thank you so much. YouTube, the folks there, they commented. So thank you so much for putting a comment in there. I appreciate you.
You're listening to Muzilog Muzik Radio, home of indie artists.
Keep it locked.
That was a little bit of a nice little commercial. So back to the gospel thing before we jump over to the next situation. I really want to see where the gospel circuit is going to take it, and not just the gospel circuit, where black music is going to take it. Now, black music is amazing. It's, a lot of what you see came out from struggle. Some of what we do came out of came out of serenity. It came out from, it all depended on the place you were, But a lot of this music came out of pain. Came out of it was just a way to express and other ethnicities feel that they, when they listen to their music, they really feel it. So we have to start investing. We have to start investing in our music in many ways, and not just the music, but just in our in our history, in our quest for knowledge or thirst, and just staying alive. I'm trying to remember the year. So let's say around 94, 93, 93, 94, around there. Going forward, there was some guys that was rocking with some musician guys. And they would go to, we went to this restaurant up in Harlem that we performed at. Like every other Sunday, we would go up there. I'd gotten close to these guys too. They were like, they were like brothers. They were called New Deliverance. I'm a keyboardist, for those of you who don't know. So I play keyboards. And so we would go to this restaurant in Harlem called Copeland's. But this was more uptown. This was like, I think it was like 145th Street up there. Manhattan, Harlem area. And we would, perform on a Sunday. They would have like a Sunday brunch. Actually, when I went up there, I would see this guy from Nice and Smooth. I would see Greg Nice. I saw Greg Nice a few times, but he would be now. Copeland's had two areas. Copeland's had an area where you do the buffet and you'd sit down and dine and eat and that kind of thing. And then they had the side where you just wanted to pick up your food. Now there you could sit and eat too, but it was more very casual, So the dining area was sort of formal and that sort of thing. And then you had the other area where you want to pick up your food and leave. You want to sit in a corner and eat your food with a plastic fork. You could do that. So many times when we were on a break, we would see Greg Nice outside Copeland's. Shout out to Greg Nice. Getting some food. And we're like, yo, Greg Nice. Hip hop in the house. Ooh, wee. I should have like a delay thing in here. So shout out to Nice and Smooth. Maybe you guys will be on tour sometime. So anyway, we're at this at Copeland's, and I even did a few jazz nights. There'd be like where I during the week they would have piano players come in and play music on different nights. And I would go and, I had just gotten married. I needed to make money kind of thing. So, I would be on the hustle. Copeland would call and, hey, you guys, you available this night? I'm like, yeah. And I'll be on the train from Brooklyn going all the way up to Harlem to get that gig. I need to make that money. Hallelujah. Get that money. Gotta pay the bills. Yeah. So I observed one thing. There was one thing I observed. There would be buses with full of Asians coming through and checking out Copeland's food. They'll come on a Sunday and it'll be like 2, 3, maybe 4 busloads. So they'll come to the buffet, and whoever they were touring with, they made sure that the Asians would come to Harlem and experience the soul food from Copeland's. It was kind of hype. Now, and I'm saying that for a reason. What eventually happened, I met other musicians over the years that would be hired to go to Japan, or they'll go to the Philippines, or they'll go to maybe Taiwan, and they'll go for maybe a month, 2 months. And I'm going to explore that a little bit because I'm taking this somewhere. But they'll go there and they'll be paid well. They'll be taken care of. They'll eat everything. But they will be training maybe a choir, or they'll be working with a group. And they wanted to get that Black American sound. Yeah. And they invested the time. In fact, I listen to jazz records, and a couple of the people in my playlist, by the way, I don't want to go into that whole topic, but I do have Asian jazz players that I vibe with. Shout out to Hiromi, if you guys like Hiromi. That amazing pianist. So it wasn't, I don't think it was just about the people coming to America to check out the culture. I think it was from a government standpoint, from the heads, and they're like, okay, we're taking the country a certain way, and we're sending our people to experience these different places. And soul music, or black music, let's just call it black music, was just one of those things. Now, I don't know if they went to a Caribbean type restaurant, but they definitely went to the soul food and experienced that food up at Copeland. It was, amazing experience too. Nice people. That is where I actually saw, you see how we're crazy on phones, like, we all on our mobile devices, and we're checking out the latest news and checking our emails, and we're on social media and responding to friends. These guys would have those mini cameras, videotaping. I'm on a few videotapes because I might play a song they like on piano, and then there's an audience, and they'll have people coming up to the piano and recording me playing the piece right there. And it was just amazing to them. They're like, wow, he doesn't even have sheet music. He's just playing. Oh my God. That fascinated these guys, Shout out to the Asian family. I know you guys are from different places. I don't want to say, well, you're Japanese or you're Chinese or or you're Korean. And honestly, I wouldn't know the difference. But they were investing time into what they were building. And I ain't mad at the hustle. I'm not mad at the hustle at all. So now, when you look at the whole K-pop situation, and then there's a couple of stories with that. Now, when you're planning something and you're growing something, not because you don't see the end game, it doesn't mean that it's not growing. These guys were going somewhere with this, and we're talking since the 90s. Now, there are choirs in Asia that if you close your eyes, you think it's black people singing. I'm serious. I kid you not. They've really invested in black music, and they're performing it, and they respect it too. They understand where it came from, and they're experiencing it. Why am I talking about this? It's going back to what we have to do. And I'm sharing the sentiments of Dietrich Haddon. We have to own we have to own the industry. If we're at a situation where we have to go and ask permission or get approval to establish something, then we're in the wrong room. We are in the wrong room. Could you imagine Steven Spielberg getting ready to do Schindler's List, and he's coming to a black guy to get approval to do the movie? That is not going to be happening. Not even in their wildest dreams is going to be happening. We don't need to go get approval from other folks. We have to come in the room believing what we have to offer is the best and we value it. That's it. And put our monies into it. Value it. If it's $1 you got, $5 you got, $10 you invest in it some way or the other and give it value and give it that respect. And pull up the word value and see what that means. What does value mean to you? Do you think you really need to go to someone to ask them permission? And they could just say to you, oh yeah, we're not putting that out. Sorry. Yeah, that we don't like it. We're not putting it out. Well, we are in that predicament because we're not owning anything. So I saw this article because, with Glorilla doing that collab with, what's the gentleman's name? Hold on, let me say the gentleman's name correctly. Let me say his name. J-Hope, right? So J-Hope from BTS. She did a collaboration with J-Hope. So I'm looking at an online publication called Medium. And this was in May 29, 2025. And the title of the article is How K-Pop Became a Global Economic Powerhouse. The Business Behind BTS and Blackpink. Imagine that. A group that is K-pop, and I think the K in the K-pop stands for Korean, right? And I think it's not, at where we are right now, it's not limited to Korea at this time. But, K-pop means Korea. So, this is how the article starts out. After the Asian financial crisis of 1997, look at that year. They had a financial crisis in 1997. South Korea's economy was confronted with severe challenges. Understanding the potential of cultural exports, the government launched the Hallyu or Korean wave, making investments in dramas, films, and music to improve the country's reputation abroad. You see the year? 1997. 1997. They invested in dramas, films, and music to improve the country's reputation abroad. As a key component of the strategy, K-pop was treated by the government as an export commodity comparable to electronics and cars. Now, imagine, I read this thing and I look at us and I have to laugh. I mean, the conditioning of our minds, of our parents and grandparents, I mean, it's really messed us up. It really messes up as a people. I mean, when you read, and again, I ain't mad at this. This is, they have the right to do this. And I applaud it. The idol system, training, branding, and marketability. And I'm not going to read this whole article, but, there's case studies here. And this, what this reminds me of? This reminds me of a time when I think it was in the late 90s. In the late 90s, I would see, when the Olympics came around, you'd see Jamaica competing. I mean, Jamaica have been competing, probably since the 60s, 70s, because shout out to our hero, Hazley Crawford. When you do research on Hazley Crawford, you'd realize that a couple of his competing brothers, they look like they were mad at each other back then. I don't know if they, we'll have to get the backstory. But Hazley Crawford, became the fastest man. That probably might have been 1975. You guys can fact check me on that. But yeah, there were Jamaican athletes then. But I think in the 90s, they had a place in the U.S. where they would be training. So so Jamaica invested in their athletes on a major level. And people were laughing at them too. They was like, oh, who's these people in yellow and green? They come in last and they might, come second or third. They weren't really anyone to worry about. USA was killing everybody those days too. It was like, okay, Carl Lewis, it was just, America was just killing it. But then, eventually, Jamaica started showing presence. All because someone back in the 90s saw that it was important to create a situation somewhere else to improve the athletic club of Jamaica. And I think Trinidad has finally followed that model. Now, I don't know if there's a place in the States that, Trinidad folks would come up and train and all of that. But other athletic clubs in the Caribbean are taking note. I mean, Jamaica's athletic club right now is crazy. I mean, shout out to the Jamaican Athletic Club. You guys have given us an amazing blueprint to work with. And so this reminds me of that when I'm reading this whole article here, where, all right, something happened and they had to make choices. And, K-pop blew up way later. But someone had the vision and everyone was on board. Everyone was on board for this to work. From the top. From the top. So which meant that, okay, we have to turn it around. How do we turn it around? In arts. In the Black experience, if the students aren't doing good in math and English, what do we cut out first? You cut out the music. Okay, no more dancing. Go learn how to read. No more storybooks. Yeah, go over there. Go get those pronouns together. Investments in drama, film, and music to improve the country's reputation abroad. That's crazy. I mean, it's amazing. At the core of K-pop's global success is the idol system. The system involves training young aspiring idols year before debut. Like a year before. So they're not even like, okay, in our experience, you realize, oh, you can sing. Okay, great. And they throw you up in church like the next day. Sing for mommy. And you just jump in and you sing. Right? They're training a year before. While some of these trainees are scouted by companies, guys, Most of these trainees audition for companies many times. According to the Korea Boo, I guess that's maybe it's a company. I don't know what Korea Boo is. Maybe it's a paper. It is not usual for children to audition more than 30 plus times. Woo. Wow. When a lot of us, when we try something, it doesn't work the first time, we shut it down. Sometimes we give it another try. And we keep trying. But at some point, we say, you know what, it's a wrap. These guys are trying more than 30. It's not unusual to try more than 30 times, 30 plus times. Many of these kids start training at a very young age for a very long time. A well-known example is Twice. Geo, I know who that is, or Twice is Geo, that's an artist, who joined her company, JYP Entertainment, at the age of 8 and trained for 10 years before debuting with her group. These companies train their idols in many aspects, investing hugely in vocals, dance, language, media training, and even personality. This rigid system builds not only performers, but brands. Whoa. If this was hip-hop, I would say that's a bar. This is good stuff, guys. K-pop idols are also carefully marketed towards domestic and international audiences, with everything from their looks to social media presence well managed by their companies. They also often collaborate with brands and attend fashion weeks to promote their group. They're working it, guys. What are we doing? You have a song, the demo, and you're waiting for, I don't know, just one song. Get your song released. Get it out there. Speak to some people. Consult with some people. Tongue twister. Consult with some people. See, hey, I got this song I want to put out. Get it produced and get it out there. There are people I know from since the 90s that's been working on a record, and they haven't put it out yet. They're fine-tuning it, fixing it, tweaking it, all types of stuff. They can't put it out yet. These guys are grinding, working. This is from the top. I mean, it's inspirational. That's my whole thing. It's like it's an inspirational thing. Like, I like stuff like this. It inspires me. I'm like, well, what am I doing? And I put records out. I'm putting records out, and I'm inspired. Could you imagine that? What am I doing? What are you doing? What are we doing? Where we got to go ask someone for approval for what it is we create. What's wrong with that picture? Something is wrong with that picture. This is dope. Revenue streams and business models. How entertainment became an export. We're talking business. There's economics right now. Economics in K-pop. Due to dynamic mixed system of globalizing forces and blockers, I know what the blockers are, K-pop has become one of South Korea's most profitable cultural exports, generating billions of dollars annually. As streaming services have transformed the music economy, income now derives from the hodgepodge of digital material, merchandise, worldwide tours, and corporate sponsorship agreements, widening the music business beyond sales. Korean pop is critical to the development of the national economy, given the fact that nations also care about how demand for their products affect their GDP and the related industries of fashion and tourism. That is from the Asia Fund Managers 2023. Agencies are also switching up their revenue models to take advantage of worldwide digital trends, including subscription-based fan platforms, online concerts, NFTs, and exploring the metaverse. Guys, they're not playing. They are not playing. They're taking this thing serious as a heart attack, guys. It's crazy. It is crazy. But anyway, I hope you guys are inspired here. I mean, this is the Medium Online publication. So, like how my publication is called, muzilog.com, Muzilog. I told you all how to pronounce the name the other day. Medium.com. And it says here, how K-pop became a global economic powerhouse. What's up with black music? Why is black music still featured in like little corners, And the Grammy Awards is in this little section over here. It's always this little section. Oh, yeah, the black folks are over here. Country music has its own Grammy Awards episode. And they still, imagine that. In the regular Grammy Awards, there are country categories. But they have their own Grammy. It's the same Grammy Award administration. There's so many other categories. The industry is so big that they have to have a country music Grammy Awards. Imagine that. Same thing with the Latino market for music. It's so big and the industry is so crazy that they have the Latino Music Grammy Awards. What are we doing, guys? We still waiting to get permission from somebody else? We still waiting for investment dollars from who? From, I don't know. Now, like, imagine, like, if they're going to read about Korea, South Korea having a financial crisis, like, whose idea was this? To just come up with, hey, let's invest in this over here. Like, I remember looking at Cool Runnings. How many people saw Cool Runnings? With Dougie Doug and them guys. And there's a scene in Cool Runnings where they're going around to businessmen looking for funding for a bobsled team, right? And they show you all the businessmen who could invest in it laughing. That is funny too. But guess what? Today, there's a Jamaican bobsled team. Sometimes when someone comes with an idea, it may not make logical sense. It doesn't mean it's stupid. It just means that, you know what? You need to have a little insight. And you could be on the ground level of that thing being something. But you sit down and you laugh. So then the young people go and they move around until they find someone that's interested. By the time you find out what's going on, they're on the 5th floor, when you could have been on the 1st floor, and you grew with the company to where it can grow to. And now you're looking at that company or that business or that tech or that app on the 5th floor, and the only thing you could say is, they came to talk to me when they were starting this thing. I thought it was a hoax. I thought it was a phase. I thought it was this. I thought it was that. I should have invested. Now you're looking at them on the 5th floor, getting ready to go to the 6th and the 7th and the 8th and onwards. And you can just stand out there looking at it. I mean, laughing is a good medicine. Sometimes you just gotta laugh with business in mind. You don't want to be like that circus or that clown. So the next thing I want to talk about, I've called it Revenge of the Beans. Revenge of the Beans. I thought it was, we had this nice food thing. I spoke about flying fish and Barbados being upset at Tobago. I spoke about jerk chicken. I looked at a couple of things online. And I thought this was really interesting because some of us might be poisoning ourselves if we don't cook our beans correctly. So I'm calling this section Revenge of the Beans. Okay, it's primarily red beans, by the way. So they're saying that red beans has something they call a PHA. It's called phytohemagglutinin. The person who I was learning this from, they weren't pronouncing the word properly. But yeah, phytohemagglutinin is a lectin, or it's some abbreviated PHA. It's a protein that binds to carbohydrates, found in many plant seeds, particularly legumes like red kidney beans, according to the Center for Food Safety, and cowpeas. So you have cowpeas and kidney beans. It says PHA can cause red blood cells to clump together and interfere with cellular metabolism. It can also cause nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, and other symptoms if ingested in high concentrations, especially when beans are raw or undercooked. Now imagine that. Now, I grew up seeing my parents and my grandmother, by the way. Shout out to Ma Vicky, resting in paradise. And some of my aunts in Tobago. They would be soaking the peas or the beans the night before. They'll soak it the night before. It's soaking all night. What were they doing? Soaking it all night. Excuse me. By the way, I'm taking another sip of my coffee here. If you are a coffee beverage person, you want me to talk about your coffee every time I sip it, reach out. We got a space for you over here. Yeah. Who told the folks back then to soak the beans? So, red kidney beans poisoning can happen if it's eaten raw or undercooked. And we just spoke about some of the symptoms. And the anti-nutrient is PHA, and it interferes with the absorption of minerals like calcium, iron, phosphorus, and zinc. So how do you avoid this? What you have to do is soak your beans for a minimum of 6 hours. Now, I'm a little bit guilty of that. I might soak it for 4. Because I'm a night person. So I might be like, oh, you know what? I wanna do those beans tomorrow. Or, if I'm gonna do it in a soup, or I might cook if it's red beans and rice I'm gonna cook, or just cooking the red beans by itself. I might do that at maybe 2 or 3 in the morning, and probably by 10, it's a different kind of vibe. Or maybe by 9, it depends. It depends on what's happening that day. Maybe it's Thanksgiving. Sometimes Thanksgiving you're on a vibe. You're on that cooking vibe. So you kind of want to watch that a little bit. So let's see here. When you soak it for at least 6 hours, you gotta boil some water and put it in the boil. I think you gotta boil it for at least 20 minutes. All right? Boil it. And then after you do that, if you want to put it in a slow cooker or a crock pot, you can do that. Or if you want to go do a little rice and beans vibe, like what I do sometimes. Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord. Yeah. Then you do that. All right. So make sure you work it out and make it happen over there. So you're listening to the Anytime, Any Day Radio Show with your host, Samuel Archer. And remember that we have business card packages on here. Great for musicians, authors, artists, business people, real estate. You have a product that you're pushing. It needs to be a legal product, by the way. Not pushing anything on the illegal side. We're not there. And I don't think we're going to get there at any time soon. And also, we got, space for beverage. And we got room for supporters. If you like what we're doing here, feel free to continue to share the information. I'll do my best to do a couple episodes per week. Remember, it's anytime, any day. So you're going to be on a limb, be on that limb. But yeah, here we are. I spoke about some of the artists that we're working on. Tune into Muzilog Muzik Radio. Remember that on Saturdays, it's 24 hours of gospel. On Sundays, it's 24 hours of soca. And on Mondays, it's 24 hours of reggae and dancehall. And the rest of the week, from Tuesday onwards to Friday, is R&B, soul, pop, funk, dance, club, techno, jazz. Did I say R&B? Did I say, I said funk. Yeah. We mix it up, guys. A little bit of pop. And I think we do have like a country record here and there. Country is making a major comeback, so hey. And Southern Soul is making Southern Soul is on a whole nother thing. I got to check that out. We had the whole line dance thing taking place. So that was one situation. And then I heard a record today where this guy is saying to the young lady, leave if you want to leave. A guy needs 3 ladies in his life. He needs one to lift him up. No, he needs one to hold him down. He needs one to lift him up. Because when you say up, it has to rhyme with the F word there. And one that just don't give, right? Really, really interesting record. If you heard it and you'd like to share, by all means, let us know what you think about that record. I don't even know who the artist is. I got to go check all of that out. But it's a Southern Soul type of a vibe. So you know that there'll be line dancers working it out. There'll be line dancers working it out. So, it's one of those things. We gotta support the musicians, support the artists. And, people want to know where those fans are at. Where are those fans? So we got like about 15 minutes to go for this show. Probably going to be mixing in some music sometime. But I love the talking thing here. It's kind of like vibe, some coffee, maybe shy tea sometimes, information, things that I find that's interesting. I just spoke about Revenge of the Beans. So be careful with your beans. And I'll probably bring some other interesting things that I would like to talk about in terms of the food vibe. So I want to talk about. I want to rock with Taylor Swift for a little bit. Let me pull up this other.
You're listening to Muzilog Muzik Radio, home of indie artists.
Keep it locked.
Let's pull up this other story here. That this is actually a very recent development. Very, very recent development. Oh, it's loading up now. Okay. Didn't know it'd be a load up thing, but it would just open up. And okay, here we go. Bring it up on my screen. So some of you might have known that, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit before I jump into the article. Taylor Swift had some issues with her record company some years ago. Not too long ago, but it was recent enough. You might have heard a couple of different artists, and I remember Ashanti talking about it in one of her interviews, that she was going to re-record some of her records, So I'm thinking based on the type of deal that you sign, in the end, the record company that pays for that recording, they own your masters for a certain amount of years. But if you're having issues, excuse me, if you're having issues with the label, some artists would opt to go and re-record the record where they pay for it. Now, I would have to do a little fact checking on that or do some information, because sometimes the label might also have a publishing department. And if there's a publishing department, how does that work? Could you just up and just say, I'm going to re-record my record? And, I don't know how that works. So I want to, maybe I may have to get an authority to the subject. And in fact, I kind of know, but hey, it's always good to get someone who's in that field to talk about it and really share what it is. But anyway, she was having issues with her label at the time, and re-recorded her record. And she did like what I think Dave Chappelle sort of did that with one of his, in one of his specials. He told his audience not to support his show being shown on a certain channel. And then so his audience saw the boycott every time that show went on. They didn't support it. And then he was able to renegotiate and then let his fan base know. Let's sing here. Some strong coffee here. Let his fan base know, hey, it's we worked it out. It's great. Check it out over here. So that is what happened in the Taylor Swift situation. When she re-recorded the album, the fans supported the new project. They supported the new project. And the masters or the recordings that the record label owned started losing value. Wow. Taylor Swift and her Swifties did that. Could you imagine that? Taylor Swift and her Swifties? So it says here, and this is a new story, by the way, 2025, June 15th. And this is BBC. I mean, how more credible could you be than the BBC? Taylor Swift has bought back the rights to her first 6 albums, ending a long-running battle over the ownership of her music. Whoa. All of the music I've ever made now belongs to me, said the star, announcing the news on her official website. I've been bursting into tears of joy ever since I found out this is really happening. The saga began in June 2019 when music manager Scooter Braun bought Swift's former record label, Big Machine, and with it, all of the songs from Taylor Swift, Fearless, Speak Now, Red, 1989, and Reputation. Swift had personal objections to the deal, blaming Braun for complicity in the incessant manipulative buying, against her by Kanye West, one of his clients. Ooh. We're not going to go there, but you guys would know that there was a Kanye West episode. On her website, Swift said that reclaiming the rights to her music had for a long time seemed unimaginable. To say this is my greatest dream come true is actually being pretty reserved about it, she added, thanking fans for their support as the drama played out. Okay, so she's doing the thank you situation here. And so it says here, in the music industry, the owner of a music recording controls the way it is distributed and licensed. The artist still earns royalties, but controlling the masters offer protection over how the work is used in the future. So, Swift responded to the original sale of her masters by vowing to re-record those records, effectively diminishing the value of those master tapes and putting ownership back in her hands. To date, she has released 4 re-recorded albums known as Taylor's Versions, with dozens of bonus tracks and supplementary material. Talk about bit slapping the situation. In her letter, the star told fans she had yet to complete the project after hitting a stopping point while there to remake 2017's Reputation album, which dealt with public scrutiny of her private life and the fallout of her feud with Kanye West. The Reputation album was so specific to the time in my life, this is her explaining that, all that defiance, that longing to be understood while feeling purposefully misunderstood. All right, that's Taylor Swift speaking there. I'm sort of going through the article here. I don't want to read everything. You guys could pull up the BBC thing and read it yourself. But I'm just reading it because I'm taking it somewhere. So it says here, what is a master recording? As the name suggests, a master recording is the original recorded performance of a song. Whoever owns it controls all the rights to exploit the music. That includes distributing it to streaming services, pressing new physical CDs and vinyl, creating box sets, or licensing songs to movies or video games. Swift, as the writer or co-writer of her music, always maintained her publishing rights, which meant she was able to veto attempts to license songs like Shake It Off and Love Story to other companies. I do want my music to live on. I do want it to be in movies. I do want it to be in commercials, but I only want that if I own it, she told Billboard in 2019. It is not known how much it costs Swift to acquire her masters, but the catalog previously sold for $300 million in 2020. The catalog previously sold for $300 million in 2020. That's amazing. This is an amazing story. This is amazing. And the reason why I say it's amazing is because of the same conversation I spoke about with the gospel situation that our colleague Dietrich Haddon is upset about. We have to own our stuff, guys. There's no way around it. I know it's cool to want to do the creative part. You want to write your material. You want to, I call it the flashing light syndrome. You just want to be in the situation. But we have to own what it is we're doing. We have to own our music. What we create, intellectual property, own it. If Stella's is the company and it's black owned, maybe we join up with Stella's. Or maybe a whole new company needs to be created. And when we create it, or we put it together, you form that body, let that be the authority on it. And encourage us to support that. Let us invest in it. So you can sort of create a perimeter as to how gospel music is going to be received, is how it's going to be respected. But if we're not respecting everything on a whole, it's kind of hard to just jump into that one little circuit and say, hey, gospel music has to do a whole revamp. Well, yeah, along with many other things that we have to revamp. There's a lot we have to revamp, guys. And, if we're going to invest in the creativity, if we're going to invest in the time we put into creating that music and getting it recorded and packaged and ready for the public, then we got to put the time into making sure that we own it, put the time into the marketing of it. How are we going to market that to the world? So anyway, guys, this is our second episode of the Anytime, Any Day radio show. I'm your host, Samuel Archer. I hope you had a fulfilling time hanging out with me and all the crazy things I love speaking about. Much love to all of you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Please share this. If you checked this out on the YouTube page, please subscribe. We need to take our subscribers up. I want to get it to 1,000 soon. And please share it out there. Talk about the show. If you like any topic in here, comment. Now, some of you might want to, reach out to me directly and make a comment. It's cool, but jump in the comment area and comment. If you have something personal, don't put it in the comment now. Don't put personal information in the comment area. But comments would help the show get to places where it needs to be. All right. So if you can do that, or should I say, when you do that, I thank you in advance. Make it a great day.
Visit muzilog.com for music news, new music releases, entertainment, and culture.